Good evening. Hello. Hello. Oh. Can you hear me? Oh, you can hear my voice? Good. Yes, good evening. Thank you for coming. My name is Jason Hick, and I will be your MC tonight. I'm just going to let you know now, I'm going to be keeping kind of a high cadence moving forward throughout the evening because we want to have some time left after the ceremony to be able to celebrate up in the lobby before we have to be out by 10 p.m. To start, welcome to the 2024 London Heritage Awards. This evening, we gather to celebrate the individuals and organizations from London and region who have demonstrated an extraordinary commitment to the conservation of London's built heritage, our monuments, structures, and landscapes that not only define our community, but which interlace the fabric of our region's collective memory, and not just of the past, but also of our present day. The importance of heritage architecture is not simply confined to Europe, Asia, or beyond. It is all around us, in the streets we walk, the buildings we inhabit, and the landmarks we pass by every day. Each structure has a story to tell, a story that enriches our communities, an effect that enhances our quality of life, and a legacy that deepens our understanding of the world around us. Yet despite its undeniable importance, built heritage is often under threat. Rapid urbanization, development pressures, and neglect pose constant challenges to the retention of our architectural treasures. Too often, historic buildings are demolished to make way for new construction, their stories and subtle impact lost forever in the rubble of progress. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have the power to protect and preserve our architectural heritage for future generations. We can do so by raising awareness through education and advocacy, by supporting local initiatives and planning policy which promotes the conservation and retention of historic buildings, and by celebrating those around us who have gone above and beyond to cradle and nurture our region's built heritage for this generation and for those to come. Heritage conservation is not just the responsibility of the experts and the authorities. It is a collective endeavor that requires the participation and support of communities, businesses, and individuals. Whether it's volunteering for these advocacy groups, speaking to your counselors or politicians, or simply sharing your passion for the importance of preserving our architectural heritage with your neighbors, each of us can have an impact. So, tonight, let us witness and celebrate those who have demonstrated an outstanding effort to conserve, adapt, or champion built heritage initiatives in London and region. And before we begin, of course, we're going to acknowledge our fantastic sponsors that this event wouldn't be possible without. We rely on these sponsors every year to host such a wonderful event, such as this Heritage Awards Gala. And I just ask you to hold your applause to the end because we just want to keep up that cadence. So I'm going to announce them one by one. We'd like to thank our Platinum Plus sponsor, Timmins Martell Heritage Consultants, our Platinum sponsor, Covenant Construction, our Gold sponsors, Tillman Ruth Robinson Architects and Culinary Catering, our Silver sponsors, iVest Properties, CIBC Grant Regnier Financial Group, our bronze sponsor, Y Design, and our supporters, Suntap Technologies and Diane Lajoie. As well, I'd like to acknowledge our partnership with Museum London. Director Julie Bevan is here with Amber Lloyd Langston, the Curator of History and Contemporary Culture. And let us welcome and recognize the politicians that we have present. We have MPP Terence Kernaghan, Deputy Mayor Sean Lewis, and Councilors Skylar Frank, Anna Hopkins, Sam Trasso, and Jerry Pribble. Thank you for coming. And with that, I'd like to introduce Deputy Mayor Sean Lewis to bring greetings from the City of London.
Well, thank you, Jason. And Susan told me I had to be really close to the time I was given tonight. So by introducing the other councillors who are here, you've saved me a few seconds. Although I also want to give an honorable shout out to the sensational former councillor for Ward 12, Harold Usher, who's here tonight as well. And I also want to take a moment to acknowledge our city staff. And if I've missed anyone, I apologize. But I know that Robin Armistead is here, Kyle Gonyu is here, and Mike Gregwell is here. And so I really want to say thank you to them for being here. They play an important role in advising us and in working on heritage projects and cultural preservation projects in the city. It's my... Yes, let's give them a hand. They deserve it. It's my honor and a privilege to be here on behalf of Mayor Morgan tonight. He does send his regrets. He is in Toronto. He's had meetings with provincial cabinet ministers today. We did tell him to come home with either a big bag of money or one of those giant novelty checks for some of the projects we need to undertake. So we'll see what he brings home with him. But as we gather to celebrate the 17th Annual London Heritage Awards, we're here to celebrate and recognize outstanding leadership and excellence in heritage conservation across the region. And of course, you know, the nominees tonight, the buildings and the other assets in our community that have been preserved and enhanced by the work, those are very important. But I think it also speaks to the fact that this room is full tonight. It's also about people. And none of these things happen without very dedicated individuals who volunteer their time and their energy to educate, to make people aware, to put in the time to do the research, to record the history. So for everything that we preserve and everything that we have to say goodbye to, but still record and document, none of that happens without people, and so many of you here in the room tonight. So as we think about the honorees that we're celebrating tonight, I want you to also think about the people behind the scenes who put in so many hours of work to make this possible. Because really, at the end of the day, community is not just about the space around us, but it's about the people who inhabit it. And I personally, and there's a row of some ne'er-do-wells back there that I'll have something to say about a little later when an award's presented. But I personally am connected to a number of the projects that are being recognized tonight. And my friend Scott from the Jet Aircraft Museum is here tonight, and Don from Fanshawe Pioneer Village, and Colonel Haley and his gang of ne'er-do-wells who were involved in a project too. So that's what resonates for me, is it's not just about the physical, but it's about the people attached to the physical. And so I hope we're celebrating the people tonight as well as these projects. Thank you very much.
Susan's going to deliver a message for us from Peter Fragiskatos.
Sorry, this letter arrived just yesterday, so it was we couldn't put it up on the screen or anything, so I think I should read it. It's greetings from the office of Peter Fragiskatos. Dear friends, I would like to express my sincere appreciation for the invitation to join you for the 17th Annual London Heritage Awards this evening. Regrettably, I'm unable to join you in person as the House of Commons is in session and I'm in Ottawa. The London Heritage Awards showcases specific initiatives and projects aimed at preserving historical artifacts and sites, such as the First Hussars Memorial Project of the Holy Roller, which has been a monumental part of both London and Canada's history for the past 80 years, and the Red Knight CT-133 aircraft, restored by the Jet Aircraft Museum. I extend my heartfelt congratulations to all the nominees and award recipients. Your dedication to preserving London's heritage is commendable. I also extend my sincere gratitude to the London Region branch of the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario, the Heritage London Foundation, and all those involved in organising this event and ensuring its success. Best wishes for a memorable occasion.
Thank you, Susan. And now I'd like to invite up presidents of the ACO London Region and HLF, Michael Wojtak and Wes Kinghorn.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Wojtak, and I am president of the Heritage London Foundation. For those of you who don't know, the Heritage London Foundation has two major roles. One is we take care of and preserve two city heritage properties, the Grosvenor Lodge and the Elson E. Perrin Williams Estate. In addition to that, though, our role is one of education and advocacy for heritage preservation. And really, that can't be done without the really massive efforts of all the volunteers involved in heritage preservation and award ceremonies like tonight. So I would like to personally thank basically all the volunteers that have put in so much effort into these award ceremonies. So the awards committee, and in addition to those volunteers, also their families, because we know the hundreds of hours that goes into doing something like this can't be done without family and friend support. So thank you very much to our volunteers.
And hi, I'm Wes Kinghorn. I'm the president of the ACO London Region branch. We have a similar mandate. We stand up for the heritage buildings in the city, the kinds of things we're celebrating tonight. But we also hold a lot of events to get people out and into these, like the Geranium Home Tours, I'm sure many of you are aware of, and nights like tonight, where we get people out. Mike had the easy job of thanking people. I have the tough job of saying, come help us. Like, I was 24 years old when I started doing this stuff. I'm 56. People are sick of me. We need new people. So come join us. I mean, the pandemic really took the wind out of the sails of volunteerism, right? And we need you back. We need people showing up at City Hall advocating for these properties. We need people coming out to our AGMs and our meetings. We just need to see you back. So come join us. We could use your help. Thanks all. Enjoy the night.
Thanks, guys. Now I'd like to invite up Eleanor Rath and our platinum sponsors, Craig Hardy and Chris McCaskill of Covenant Construction, as well as Maggie Wally.
Eleanor, you. Sorry, I've got a lot of props tonight, so you're going to get a bit of visual interest as well. But first of all, I'd like to introduce you tonight to Eleanor Rath, who is one of our heritage heroines, I have to say. Eleanor has been chief researcher and guiding light on our, and that's ACO London's, Heritage House Science Program. So, first visual aid. I think that many of you will have noticed these as you go around the streets of London. The ACO started this about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's been an amazing success. We have been unbelievably heartened by the number of people that we have made signs for. I've been told by Jason that the latest number is 650. Yay! We always knew in our hearts that Londoners really love their heritage. And so we know they don't only love to find out about the heritage of their own house, but that they really enjoy seeing these signs as they walk around or travel around the streets of London. Eleanor has played a crucial role in this program and has helped to make it as overwhelmingly popular as it has been. Eleanor has a background in local government and particularly enjoyed her stints as Director of Planning and CEO of Economic Development in some of the surrounding townships. When she retired from Middlesex County in 2019, she started a project to research the history of her own house. It took her 6 months, and she was hooked, I can tell you. Now she has brought her considerable investigative skills and her meticulous research to our program. It is unbelievable what she has done. And as she says, she discovers so many interesting people and stories on her journeys. She even finds out so much that homeowners didn't know about their own families and are quite surprised. Anyway, leaving that to one side, Eleanor also now trains our volunteer team, leading people down these, what I might call archival alleyways or rabbit holes, as she describes them sometimes. The end product of this is this very valuable and attractive folder that every homeowner gets at the end of the research, which is something to treasure, not only for themselves, but for future generations too, I believe. So thank you, Eleanor, for all your hard work. You have helped improve our knowledge of our history. And she's certainly one of the people that you've mentioned earlier that does so much work behind the scenes. That's absolutely for sure. And for enhancing our streetscapes. So I would like to call on Chris McCaskill and Craig Hardy from Covenant Construction to present the award.
They did say I could say a few words, Jason, but I won't do a 38-page historical house report. Thank you, Maggie, and the nominating committee for this special award. In a word, doing historical house research for ACO London has been addictive. Once you learn about one property and get a glimpse into the lives of one family in London's history, you just want to do it more. Thank you to the program coordinators over the years, Sharon and Dorothy, Kelly, Heather, and of course, Jason. And also to the HHS team of researchers who support and learn from one another. And I see a number of us in the crowd. A shout out also to Kyle, who's always there to answer an email or two or three. And last but not least, a special recognition to my husband, Rob. While I'm researching other people's houses, it's Rob who is maintaining and restoring our own heritage homes. So thank you very much.
Well deserved indeed. I've known Eleanor for a few years now, and she is the keystone to this HHS committee without a doubt. I'm sure anyone who's received an HHS package with her name as the author is overwhelmed and delighted, and probably shares it with everyone they can possibly bump into, especially in their neighborhood. Now with that, I'd like to invite up Charlie and Jody Younger and HLF President back up again, Michael Wojtak, for the next presentation.
So I have the distinct honor of presenting the award for 91 Bruce Street to Charlie and Jody. For those of you who don't know, it is right in the very center of the Wortley Old South Heritage Conservation District. And it is a fantastic restoration. It's not just a restoration, but it's also a build on the rear of the house. I was telling the Youngers that I often walk by the property, and one of the best things about it if you're looking at the house almost dead on from Teresa Street, you can't tell that there's this massive 3,000 square foot extension on the back. It's hidden from view. It's quite stunning. In addition to that, I didn't tell the youngers this. I'm using this opportunity as a plug for this book on the London North because their home is featured in here. So I'd just like to thank them for such a faithful restoration and an amazing extension in the heart of the Wortley Village area.
I'll say it's the before picture that's in the book. So you remember that, and then look at the before picture, and it'll speak to a little bit of how we spent our summer this past year restoring that front porch. So thank you, first of all, to the London Region ACO and the Heritage London Foundation for hosting this and for celebrating Conservancy, which we're big supporters of, always have been in every house we've owned. And a special thank you to Dorothy Palmer, who nominated us, Dorothy was also a neighbor of ours on Bruce Street. And for those who know her, she recently moved to Nova Scotia. So she's here in spirit, but she's closer to her family now. And when she said she nominated us, it was actually very special because, as you might imagine, we actually have full-time jobs. And everything we've done in this house has been weekend warrior. And many of our neighbors have wondered how long the sanding would go on for. So to have a neighbor nominate us was really nice. And actually, it was a great way to meet our Wortley neighbors as we got to move in out of the pandemic and start to meet people again. We'd just like to say a couple of thank yous. One is to somebody who we often don't recognize. And that's actually our lawyer who helped us with our purchase, Casey Hayward at Carlisle Peterson, because he actually did an incredible amount of historical research for us, finding old documents, old deeds, and actually helped us understand what the original layout of the front of the house was, because it had been quite modified over the years. Also, the London Public Library and the incredible resource room there, where we were able to find a number of images that helped us. Shout out to libraries. Thank you. Such amazing help. We spent many hours there poring over the books and documents. And to Mike Gregor, who I think somebody said was here today. We were kind of looking to see, where are you, Mike? Oh, hey, Mike. Because he was such a great help to us as we worked through all of the parameters. And I'm going to tell you, when we first came in and said to Mike what we wanted to do, he said, there's no way that's going to happen. We did it. We did it, Mike. And to our contractor, the patient Kevin Mondonka of Idyllic Homes, who anybody in this room knows, when you open the walls of an old house, there's always surprises. And to Anne and Jess Becker of Lily Home and Design, who helped us with some of our choices. So thank you again for this award. It's been a really great welcome to London, as we're relatively new here, and certainly to Wortley Village. So thank you.
Thanks, Charlie and Jody. I was speaking to Dorothy, actually, just a few nights ago. She says hello to everyone, wishes she could be here for those who know Dorothy. And of course, yes, we have those lovely books for sale just up at the table, just inside the lobby there. Do circle by our table and have a look. Now I'd like to invite up Jean-Paul and Monique Legault and Marlon Loft for our next presentation.
This award is presented to you for your long-time loving maintenance and conservation of your handsome Queen Anne house located on a prominent corner in Old East Village. It was built in 1902 by the first owner, who worked at the nearby Globe Casket Factory, now the site of the present police station. Recently, after discovering photos of the original porch, taken around 1915, you set about to replace the unsympathetic metal porch with one that truly models the original in style of the building. Solid balustrades and columns with recessed panels are painted to match and unify the beautiful decorative detail in the gables of the house. So the restoration of this two-story porch to its original charm greatly enhances the facade of this historic house and provides a striking landmark in Old East Village. So congratulations. We are delighted to present you with this award.
Well, thank you. It's really an honor to receive this prestigious award. We both feel really privileged. We had the opportunity to purchase this home about 35 years ago, such a beautiful building. And it was always our dream to restore the porch back to its original beauty. So we finally had the opportunity within this last year. With, as you can see, the incredible detail, it was a labor of love and very lengthy in the process. And we really do share this honor with the incredibly talented man who created this porch for us. So I know, JP, you'd like to recognize and thank him as well.
Yes, I'd like to thank Justin Bardwell for his incredible work and detail in the reconstruction of the porch. All the laborers that were involved, the painters, the tenants who paid for it. We really didn't do much, a lot of watching. 30 years ago, we discovered a newspaper article in the London Examiner, dated 1927, when the then Charles Anderson passed away, who was a nephew of the first mayor of London. And the article read, a little cheery article that read, "Death summons Londoner who built his own coffin." So it goes on to say how much of a craftsman he was, but it was quite interesting to read. And
I think you mentioned this is the anniversary.
And yes, it is the anniversary of his death, actually, 97 years ago. So
I think he'd be honored as well, Justin, to see
Yeah.
how you recreated this porch.
yeah, the detail. So we'd like to thank you, and we are quite honored in receiving this award. Thank you very much.
Congrats, and great to see Justin Bardwell here again. Maybe we'll see him again next year. All right, now I'd like to invite Scott Eleanor, the president of the Jet Aircraft Museum, up to the stage with Brenda McQuaid.
Good evening, everyone. This year, the Canadian Air Force is celebrating its 100th anniversary. And if you're old enough to remember history, you'll recall London Region was pretty important in training Second World War pilots. But as it turned out, the London Airport and the armed forces here in London became even more involved in retraining those pilots and working with new pilots to train them on the new jet engines that evolved. Apparently, if you fly a jet engine like a propeller, you could lose your plane or your life. So it was a pretty important task. And I'm pleased to have Scott here of the Jet Aircraft Museum in London, out by the London Airport, to explain further all of their details and to honor all of the time and effort, which I think they haven't even really begun to count, that it took to restore the single plane that was the trainer. This is the Lockheed CT-133, affectionately known as the Red Knight here in London. Scott, on behalf of the London Heritage Awards Committee, I'm proud to give you this wonderful citation for all the work that you've done, you and your team. And this is one of our first non-building awards. So we're pretty proud.
Well, the first thing I'd like to say, like all of the other winners here, is it takes a team to restore an aircraft, a big team. I'd like to thank the hundreds of people that turned the wrenches, but that's not all. We're a charity, so it's find the funding. We've had ladies that worked on that for hours and hours. This is a 70-year-old aircraft. To fly it, you must follow Transport Canada rules, which means you must have the right screws and the right holes and the right filters. And to find 70-year-old parts for an aircraft has become a joy of mine. And I am sure definitely something that my wife regrets ever letting me do. I'd like to say a special thanks to a couple of our initial pilots that started flying the aircraft. One is a retired RCAF pilot who flew Starfighters, a very fast aircraft. His name was Ray Simpson. And also a Canadian astronaut named Bjarne Trivgudsen. A lot of people go, oh, I know him. Yeah, he was a professor at Western, and he came out and helped us get our aircraft off the ground and flying. So thank you very much. I'd like to thank everyone who on the nominating committee who thought outside the box and picked a jet aircraft. Thank you. I'm supposed to stand and get a picture? No, I think they did when you handed it to me.
All right, thanks, Scott. And by coincidence, I happen to be an aircraft mechanic by trade. So I actually know, what kind of effort that goes into this kind of stuff. And yes, it is. Every square millimeter is looked over diligently. All right, well, thank you and congratulations. All right, now I'd like to invite up Mike Manuel and Mike Wasilko with ACO President Wes Kinghorn.
The reason I was asked to give this one is I'm a big downtown guy. I live downtown and have my whole life really in London. And I'm also a big heritage person. And I'm a big believer that heritage these aren't museums we're preserving. These are places to live, work. I love heritage conservation districts. Mike, I'll drift briefly. I'm a big fan, I'm just finally meeting Mike, is of the London Music Hall. I'm sure you're all aware of the London Music Hall. And for downtown, it has been revolutionary. I mean, it has brought life back to the core. When that marquee went up, it brought back something we haven't seen in the downtown core in generations. Then the back marquee went up, and we were just talking about that tonight. Mike has been a driving force and carries it on with what he's doing here at 188 to 190. I'm going to let Mike and Mick tell you a little bit more about the project. You can see in your book about it. I'll just say a couple of things. I want to point you to something, though, in the write-up. Starting by saying they're two yellow brick Italianate buildings. They're beautiful downtown buildings, the kind of thing, as I say, that when we restore them, you can live, work, and play in them. But I want to draw your attention to two sentences. Partway down, it says the upper floors were used for residential or storage space, right? Because people used to live and work downtown. But what really gets me excited about this project is look way down at the bottom where it says the interiors were also renovated to accommodate businesses on the first floor and, wow, residential lofts above. This is what we need downtown. This is what's going to bring downtown back to where we want it to be. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mick. I'm going to let them take over and tell you a little bit more about the project. We owe you a lot.
Thanks, folks. It's Mick Wasilko here beside me. Mike Manuel, thank you. First, it's an honor to be here, an honor to receive this award. I would like to thank Sylvia for nominating the building and myself. I think she's here somewhere. Thank you, Sylvia. It's been a fun project. I purchased this building, 188, 190, about 12 years ago. And we originally used the back section of it for our business on the music hall. And it's always been my dream to restore the front and the interior, because the interior, it's a building from the 1800s, just before the turn of the century. And it has beautiful architect inside and outside. The whole building was covered with marble, that marble that they did in the 80s, covered the whole facade. Surprising, when I hired Mec, I met him about 15 years ago. And I said, Mec, we need to do something with this building. I don't have any pictures of the old facade. We stripped down the old facade and we found this beautiful arch on one of the sides of the building. And we said, okay, we need to look more into the history with our good friend. I think he's here. Kyle is here somewhere. Oh, Kyle, an amazing person. Thanks, Kyle. Kyle has answered so many phone calls, so many emails. So thank you. And he stayed with us right till the end. He even visited the loft upstairs. You haven't seen the finished product. You need an invite. No invite needed. Sorry. No invite needed anytime. So anyway, with Mic's help, we came up with a plan to restore the front as much as we can, and just finished it a few months ago. We're happy to say we've got a tenant on the main level. The second floor and third floor is being used for a loft. Myself, I've been downtown since '81, and I've always preached for people to move downtown. I did it this time. So we moved in, myself and my wife, who couldn't be here tonight, Vicky. And we're living there, and we absolutely love it. Mec, I know if you'd like to say a few words.
Thanks. My sincere thank you for this recognition. This plaque is going to be displayed proudly in our office. And as Mike has mentioned, we worked with Mike on his projects downtown for at least 15 years. It's been a pleasure. And I'd just like to say that every new venture with Mike has always turned into a fantastic adventure. Thank you.
You need the frame. I got this frame.
Thanks, Mike and Mick. And now I'd like to invite up Susan Day and Rob Hodson, as well as Jason Lemia and Janae Hodder for our next presentation.
So, good evening. Is this right? It gives me great pleasure to present this award to Susan Day and Rob Hodson for an ambitious and successful project, namely the adaptive reuse and restoration of two historic buildings on Dufferin Avenue, one a large carriage house, the other a cottage. It is a particular pleasure for me because it involves two areas in life that are dear to my heart: the creation of art, specifically clay art, and the appreciation and restoration of a built heritage, both beautifully intertwined in one project. The carriage house, dated 1877, was first owned by Walter Richards, a carpenter for the Grand Trunk Railroad. A century later, in the 1980s, it was a furniture factory, followed by decades of being used for storage. It has now been repurposed as Susan's highly productive ceramic studio, and as well a workshop for Rob. Susan is creating... Sorry. Yeah. Lost my train of thought here. Yeah. Susan is creating more of the fantastic tile work that has brought life, color, and character to Old East Village, and is currently producing tiles for the new Children's Museum opening sometime soon. You can speak to that, Susan. Okay. So, and if you don't know what I refer to when I say tile murals in Old East Village, you must take a field trip there. It is incredible what has been done under the aegis of Susan Day. The cottage on the same property is a picture book example of an Ontario cottage with center hall plan and decorative barge board on the gable, and it is now beautifully restored. Susan and Rob consulted and worked with experts to complete the delicate demolition work, taking its interior back to the studs, then to rewire, replumb, re-insulate, and rebuild and restore the original moldings. So to you, Susan and Rob, in this award, we applaud your gift, your grit, your determination, and success in bringing life and beauty, and most definitely art, to these two buildings in Old East Village.
When Susan said that she wanted to go look at a 2,400 square foot studio, my heart just fell, and I was like, "That's going to look at a puppy. You know you're going to get it, and your whole life is going to change." And that's what happened 3 years ago. So yeah, it's been an incredible project and an amazing adventure. Thank you.
I wanted to thank two people. I want to thank Jason Lemieux of 49 North Construction, who saw us through the whole project, and another project we did earlier, and especially Catherine Morrissey, who recommended us for this, and for all of us for this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Susan and Rob. Now I'd like to invite up Lieutenant Colonel Ian Haley and Gary Cambridge, as well as Deputy Mayor Sean Lewis.
Well, now we're going to honor the second honoree tonight, who is not a building, but a veteran of World War II. And she really is a veteran herself. The Holy Roller Tank has meant so much to generations of Londoners and is so important to keeping our military history alive and remembered in this community. Now, I will say, no matter what these guys say to you after, the CAV is not nearly so precise as Transport Canada. Scott had a lot harder work fitting all the screws in the right holes with the Red Knight than these guys did finding all the right parts for the Holy Roller. In fact, when it got to Fanshawe College and we started to take it apart and look at the different pieces, it was fascinating to see how many parts were not original to the tank, but that had been probably scavenged on the battlefield over its time in Europe to keep it running. But it brought every crew member who served in it home alive. And then it came to London and served as a reminder of our military history and contributions to the Allied effort to free Europe and preserve democracy. And Susan, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to take a little bit more than 2 minutes on this one. These guys, when they came to me at City Hall a few years ago now and said, we want to take the tank out and restore it. And I thought, well, how the heck are we going to take a tank out of the park, and where are we even going to put it to restore it? So I think we have to give some credit to, and I want to say Robin Armistead was really important in helping me navigate from the council side the process to give these guys the permission to get the tank out of there. Peter Devlin at Fanshawe College and the team that helped with the restoration. But what will always be a memory to me and what is so important about the work that these guys have done, I remember the first time I had the privilege of going inside the Holy Roller after she'd been opened up after decades in the park, and feeling what it was like to be in that space and to think about what the men who served in that tank did for all of us. You can't put a price on the value of that heritage. It is just priceless. And now with the work of an incredible team, she's back in Victoria Park where she will stay for generations to come. I don't expect to be around in 60 years when she's ready to get serviced again. But you never know. They say only the good die young, so we might all be around still. But gentlemen, congratulations, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. We do have some sympathy for the people who are putting the jet back together. The gentleman to my right, Sergeant Retired Gary Cambridge, is our technical director. And there's an old story of someone who was asking a tank commander about the technical aspects of his tank. And his response was, "Don't ask me, ask my gunner. I'm just the fellow what sits on top." And that was Gary. How complicated can it be, Gary? I just need 2 sets of track out of Belgium, through Canada Customs, through Agriculture Canada, and here in about 6 weeks. But on behalf of the Holy Roller Project, I'd like to thank you for the recognition of what is a true community project to preserve what is a national icon. The Holy Roller, as you've read in your books, is the only tank of the 1st Hussars Regiment to have survived from D-Day through to the end of the war in Northwest Europe. And we believe now, as we're doing further research, it may be the last tank in the world that actually participated in the D-Day assault and is still with us. So that is truly amazing. An armored regiment normally has 63 Sherman tanks, and we lost 346, which gives you an idea of just the tremendous odds against Holy Roller surviving. And it was a lasting memorial to a group of ordinary Canadians, many of them Londoners, who did extraordinary things. Work, as has been mentioned, was completed by a dedicated team of over 20 volunteers, many of whom had never worked on an armored vehicle before in their lives. But this was something that they wanted to do. And it was also supported by companies, institutions, large and small, and individuals who understood the importance of the Holy Roller. No one's contribution was insignificant. I think that is the key point in this whole project, was everybody's contribution meant something. And we thank you all. In particular, though, we need to thank the long-standing and continued support of Toboggan Brewery, whose sales of Holy Roller Lager continue to support the ongoing maintenance of Holy Roller and Veterans Care. And there are just some days when we thanked heaven that we had a brewery as a major supporter. General Dynamics Land Systems, Canada, for their technical expertise when we had some issues on preservation, and also for their financial support. And we were also able to use their state-of-the-art armored recovery vehicle, using that technique's new vehicle, but we actually used most of the same techniques they would have used in 1944, except we didn't do it in the middle of a minefield and nobody was shooting at us, which is very important. Militex coatings for their superior paintwork, and above all, our landlord, Fanshawe College, who literally, they immersed themselves in this project. And now we've left them with the task of explaining that no, a Mark III Sherman is not normally part of the curriculum. But Stephen, to you and your crew, thank you. I think we may have had General Devlin at tank, but I'm not sure. And we also need to acknowledge the generous support of the federal government, Departments of Veterans Affairs, and the Economic Development Agency. And finally, we need to thank a gentleman on this stage, Deputy Mayor Sean Lewis, and Robin Armistead. I know you're here somewhere. There you are. Who may have started drinking at some point during this project. From the City of London for their assistance in working through the myriad of provincial and public requirements, civic requirements, for preserving a monument in a public park on top of an archaeological site. Who knew? And in closing, we'd like to extend an invitation to you all on Sunday, June 2nd at 11 o'clock, and following that in the park. The 1st Hussars Regiment will gather at Holy Roller to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. And we hope you will join us at what is your memorial. Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen. Oh, Sean,
I want to say one quick little comment too, Jason. These guys, myself, Robin might not have been so keen on the idea, but boy, we wanted to put an engine back in that tank and make it a running one. The city solicitor, however, had some real concerns about the liability of the city owning an operational tank. So the answer on that was no.
That's too bad. That's too bad. Reminds me of the small towns with the little trains that would go around in their parks. I mean, think of the lineup of kids for that. It's great to see it back in the park. I'm sure everybody who's grown up in London, myself included, that's just been a fixture, in our local landscape. All right, now I'd like to invite up Andrea Frossard, Diana Roldan, and MPP London North Terence Kernahan with Sylvia Chodas.
Well, time to get back to some buildings. Although I must say that this is, I guess, the 3rd award that is not going to the building. Are you confused now? Very unusual for our gang. This award goes to Canada Life. And on the stage, we have Andrea Frossard, who is the Senior Vice President, Canada Life, local project leader, Jennifer McBride of Canada Life, Amber Cushing of Canada Life, and the lead architect for the project, Diana Roldan of ERA Architects. Small but mighty. Most people in London recognize and remember the London Life building, now Canada Life, as an icon of architecture in London. Faces Victoria Park, and it is built in the grand Beaux-Arts style. So designing
a ramp to put in the front of this building for accessibility was a tall order to make it fit in with the facade of the beautiful building. And we think that this was handled masterfully in this case. Now, you might ask, why didn't Canada Life have an accessibility ramp before now? And I was wondering the same thing. However, there is an accessible entrance to the Canada Life building around the block in the adjacent building on Queens Ave. And it has been there for a while, since the 60s or 70s. And so people could come in that way and go through the building to get to the 1926 Beaux-Arts building. But it was the vision of Canada Life, and this is the key thing, that they wanted an accessible entrance at the historic front of the building so that people with disabilities could enter through the front. Now, I think that is really honoring heritage, and I really appreciate that fact. Speaking of honoring heritage, did you know that Canada Life maintains a delightful mini museum inside the front door in the lobby with artifacts and storyboards from London Life's history? London Life, the company, dates back to 1874, I believe. And so you can see that museum on Doors Open in September. And you can, in fact, you can see the Canada Life building as well, because they're on Doors Open. So I highly advise you to check that out. Back to the project. So a ramp was needed in the front. And as I said, it was a tall order. So they managed to blend the old and the new with black railings and spindles reminiscent of wrought iron of old, and new technology, for example, tactile paving for the vision impaired. Those are the little bumps that you now see on street corners and things. And I was told that rather than take the easy route of buying a mat with the bumps on, they actually installed each bump individually. And there are hundreds and hundreds of them. That is the attention to detail and the quality of this project. There is also lighting that comes on through a sensor when you step onto the ramp. And there is also heating under the concrete so that it will clear the ramp of ice and snow. So it's really a very well thought out and heritage friendly, accessible entrance. Before I give the award, I would like to say that this is another first for us. This is a brand new award category. This award is called the Compatible Design Award. And it is for new construction. I know we're a heritage group, but sometimes there is new construction which demonstrates respect for built heritage. So it could be a building or an addition which fits in harmoniously into a heritage streetscape. And this is a fine example of that. So Andrea and team, congratulations on this project and supporting the legacy of heritage that Canada Life maintains to this day. Oh, thank you, Terrence, for presenting the award tonight. And thank you to Mike Berry, our photographer, who is taking photographs from the back on a volunteer basis. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. I didn't have to do it this year. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. I really appreciate that. I'm thrilled to be here on behalf of Canada Life and on behalf of ERA Architects. Canada Life has a long history and deep roots here in London. We care about our community and the issues that impact the people that live and work here. One of these issues, of course, is empowering, elevating, and advancing the interest of persons with disabilities by removing barriers and celebrating abilities. Of course, this focus includes reviewing the accessibility of our spaces and to assist in making the design user-friendly for all. So as Sylvia outlined, we did already have an entrance that was accessible, but it was very important to us that we had the historic entrance also be accessible. So I'm pleased to be up here with Diana and Daniel, who's hiding in the audience, from ERA Architects, and then with Jennifer and Amber from Canada Life, and accepting this award. So thank you very much on behalf of Canada Life. Happy to have this plaque up at Canada Life. So thank you to the nominating committee and everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'd like to invite up our next presentation guests, the Reverend Canon Bill Ward, Cody Barteet, and Susan Bentley.
Hello, it's me again. This award celebrates a real community endeavour and a labour of love. The Anglican parish of St. John's has undertaken a massive restoration project over several years after an engineering assessment by Avis Architects reported on what needed to be done. Brian Heyman of Heyman Construction acted as project manager, and thousands of hours of volunteer and professional labour were given to the project. I have a feeling that one of the volunteers is standing beside me. Some highlights of the undertaking were waterproofing of the roof over the nave and chancel, replacement of gutters and downspouts, and the installation of an anti-ice heating system, which presumably protects the roof from further ice blockages. Window frames and sills were repaired, as was the exterior masonry of the foundation. 2 stained glass windows were removed, restored, and replaced. Pews were removed and the wooden floors sanded and sealed. Extensive plaster repairs were made, particularly to the starry sky of the baptistry ceiling. The distinctive tower built at the south side of St. John's also underwent restoration, as did the former rectory at 284 St. James Street. An aside, it's always fascinated me that St. John's Church is on St. James Street. I would now like to present, does no one else notice that?
I agree.
I would now like to present this major restoration project award to the Reverend Canon Bill Ward and to Cody Barteet, who is the Senior People's Warden of St. John the Evangelist Anglican Church.
Thank you. I do have some, being the academic in me, I have a couple of prepared remarks. But I do want to touch upon that something that Susan has said. This is kind of a really surreal moment for me, because I was one of the ones that started this campaign that led to this when a lot of people told us we couldn't do it. My time at Warden ended. I'm back again as warden. Could not let Bill do this award necessarily because Bill's brand new to our parish. But individuals, I have to note Peter Godwin and one of our other wardens that is here with us tonight, former wardens, they were the ones that actually carried a bulk of this load through after our kind of initial kind of campaign. Okay. So we would like to begin by thanking Peter Dillon and the London Heritage Awards Committee for recognizing and validating the important necessary restoration we have conducted over at St. John since 2017. Since the building's construction 136 years ago, the parish and its communities have been considered an important artistic feature and cultural hub of London and the Bishop Helmut Heritage District. We have been offering one of London's longest running meal programs. Unfortunately, it is still extremely popular today, and we have actually had to initiate a new program on Tuesday afternoons. But we're also, on a more positive note, do handle and host countless youth and social programming organizations that use our facilities en masse. We average about 25,000 visitors, unique visitors for this in our programming through the year. So we really are kind of a cultural hub in North London. We hope this campaign and our restoration program will secure our presence and continue our contributions to the Old North and London community over the next 136 years. We could not have achieved our restoration goals if it were not for the generous donations of well over 120 people and families and organizations that contributed to our campaign that raised over $1.1 million. And finally, I would like to thank Alan Avis Architects, Heyman Construction, Roger Chapman at Sunrise Stained Glass, who's also done 2 more windows for us here recently, and many other contractors that executed thousands of hours of work and labor. We thank you, and we thank our local branch of the Architectural Conservancy of Ontario and the Heritage London Foundation for this award. And we got something wrong to hear about. Thank you for the members of the community for nominating us. Can't read that. Thank you. I think we got to get a picture.
All right, I got our next list of people to come up to the stage is a big one. I'd like to invite Tom Peace, chair of the board of the Fanshawe Pioneer Village, and Holly Martel, our Platinum Plus sponsor from Timmins Martel Heritage Consultants, as well as Mike Bloxham. And for the rest, if you could stand in front of the stage, I'd like to invite up Janae Hodder, George McNeish, Harold Usher, Maggie Wally, Susan Bentley, John Rutledge, Tara Jenkins, Norm Steele, Carolyn Cameron, Christina Lord, Donna Kelly, Tim Castle, Carl Cadigan, Hillary Neary, and I'd also just like to point out Nancy Toski up in the gallery up there to the right of Michael. She also needs to be recognized in this as well, but it's a little ways to get down here. All right. Are we all here? Last year, we gave awards to Carl Cadogan and Don Miskelly, who worked extremely hard in the past stretch of the 10-year project to bring the former fugitive slave chapel to Fanshawe Pioneer Village, where it is finally to undergo a complete restoration. Now that the restoration has been so beautifully finished and the building is open to visitors, many of you will have attended the event last year, we wanted to acknowledge and celebrate everyone who worked on the project over the 10 years. There are in fact too many people to thank everyone individually, from the volunteers who worked at fundraisers to committee members, researchers, planners, supporters, donors, and many others. Important early support came from Don Menard, Delta McNeish, Joe O'Neill and his family, the Good Foundation, and Paul Hubert. Later, help to get the project over the finishing line was provided by Vivian McAllister, Marianne Colohan, and Alex Kane. Tom Peace, Christina Lord, and the Fanshawe Pioneer Village Board were key players at the final stage. There is a core group standing here tonight, and we all applaud their efforts and salute their determination to see the chapel find a home where its important history can be displayed and the story of the early Black community in London revealed. There's a pamphlet tonight that each of you will have received on your seats that outlines the long journey of the chapel towards this point, and we encourage you to take it home with you. I would now like to ask Holly Martel of Timmins Martel Heritage Consultants to present the Major Restoration Award to Tom Peace, Chair of the Board of Fanshawe Pioneer Village. So we're last, and we're lots. So I have the honor of representing this wonderful group. It's been a bit of a reunion, to be honest. We haven't been together for well over a year. But I'd like to thank you for the award on behalf of the board at the London Middlesex Heritage Museum, which is Fanshawe Pioneer Village's official name.
And I want to begin by pointing out also, it's so great to see heritage recognize that it isn't buildings and that our project was almost not a building. And that's one of the reasons why it came together. And I think it's really important to draw that out. And I want to acknowledge, I'm going to do it by groups so that we're not here all night because there are many people, but I want to acknowledge some of our key partners because as a board, we played a role in bringing people together to finish this project. But as has already been mentioned, there have been so many people who have put in so much time over the past decade. And so I'm just going to name a few, and I also want to signal to a few partners who have already been mentioned but have been really critical, and I think it's important to acknowledge them again. The first group, though, is the London Black History Coordinating Committee, without whom this project wouldn't have come together. And in fact, we are still partnered with them because it's not just a heritage building that we're stewarding, but of course programming at our museum to complement that building. And that partnership is really critical and important for us. Our museum, as has already been mentioned, but our museum also picked up on a foundation laid by the Chapel Committee, as they were known, many of whom became part of the steering committee with us. And this is really convenient that this booklet is here because most of them are named and discussed in this booklet. And I want to signal that work because without them, this would not have happened. Likewise, the City of London was pivotal in their support. I'm glad Deputy Mayor Lewis is here because he played an important role in bringing together some of the important partners near the end. But I also want to signal out Councillor Harold Usher, as was signaled at the beginning, because he played an important role right through, as well as Kyle Gagnon and Robin Armistead, who played important roles with the city. And I think it's important to recognize that those names have been said time and time again, and to point out that these people are really pivotal in our urban life together. On not quite a negative note, but I'm going to hit a negative note to hit a positive note. One of the challenges that I don't think we've identified enough as heritage advocates is the challenge of funding. And funding, as we see increasingly competing resources, funding is becoming more and more of a challenge for us. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. And it's also important to acknowledge the organizations that stand up and support heritage. And this project was supported significantly by the Government of Canada's Cultural Spaces Fund, Drulo Holdings, and the Ironstone Building Company, the City of London, of course, and the Good Foundation. And I suspect many of you, dozens and dozens of individual donors and partners who supported us through the London Community Foundation. And it's important to point out the London Community Foundation plays a really important role in funding both our organization and many of our others. Lastly, I just want to acknowledge our Executive Director, Don Miskelly, and our staff at Fanshawe Pioneer Village, who stick-handled the behind-the-scenes details, including the discovery of a septic tank just underneath where it sits today, as well as Tradition Construction, and of course, John Rutledge, who's responsible for the restoration. So it's a pleasure to accept this award on behalf of the museum and our many partners. Thank you very much.
All right, and as Tom said, that's the end of our awards presentation. But we also have a few important things left to do. And first, I would like to invite Mike Baker to the stage to deliver a memorial tribute to one of London's leading heritage advocates.
And good evening, everyone. I now have 2 minutes to sum up Janet Hunton's 50-year contribution to London's heritage movement. Obviously, I can't go into detail, but the good news is that Arthur McClelland, my friend, has a great biography that he would be happy to share to you. And it's full of dates. Janet's actually a recipient of the Mayor's New Year's Honors for Heritage, and maybe Arthur could put up photos of the heritage recipients from the New Year's honors in the London room. After all, that's where they did most of their research. And you could replace those old photos we've been looking at for 20 years. Just kidding. Early in Janet's career, though I'm not sure she would agree with me that she actually had a career, early in her working life, let's say, she was a prop maker for the Stratford Festival. And I expect she made a lot of spears there. There are a lot of spear carriers in Shakespeare's plays. This is how I think of Janet, as a spear carrier in the battle for heritage preservation. Not so much a leader as a loyal soldier, mining, as Hilary Neary likes to say, for heritage at the rock face of historical research. And she taught many of us how to be spear carriers. I learned how to interpret a building over 40 years ago, driving around Middlesex County one summer, tucked into her blue Volkswagen, with the 1878 county atlas on my knees, looking for buildings marked on the township maps. It was a great experience, especially for her, because it got her out of the office. And anything was better than trying to actually run that place. We found a lot of those buildings, and I can picture a lot of them today. The Boston Stone House, the Boston Brick House, an 1840s house in what was Lobo Township, which had its side wall and its floor removed so that the owner could park corn hoppers in it. We found the other African Canadian church on Horton Street, marked there in the fire plan. All she did was go out and find it. She found a clay house on Windermere Road. Actually, she found the site of the clay house on Windermere Road, because apparently by the time we got there, the cows had eaten it. I don't know where she found that story, but she always loved it. She loved all of these buildings, regardless of their condition, regardless of their age, regardless of the heritage significance that was attached to them, even if they didn't have any heritage significance attached to them. She loved them all. But I think it was the history that interested her most. She could certainly name every architectural detail, style, feature, sometimes in great detail, and you didn't want to disagree with her. But it was the building's heritage that appealed to her most. Who was associated with it, how it had been built, what it had been used for. We redesigned the Pioneer Village during that summer in the car, and it resulted in a master plan which we wrote, some of which was actually carried out when Sheila Johnson took over as director. Her real monument at Fanshawe is the fully restored Peel House. A couple of years ago, I bought a print of hers from Gardner's, from a plate that she had engraved herself. It's probably in her house, somewhere. This was an aspect of Janet's that I knew little about. Now put that alongside the MSc that she received from McGill University. How often do you find the artist and the scientist in the same person? Not often. The print showed the back of the Western Hotel. This was a building that was once located near the Grand Theatre, demolished by Old Oak about 30 years ago. And this was one demolition that she was in the demolition fight that she was in the forefront of. And I often wonder if her attachment to that building started when she did the detailed drawing of it many years before. We all have learned something from Janet, though it often took a little bit of patience on our part. And while she retired from the county, she never retired from the heritage movement. She was a faithful spear carrier to the end, and we could use a few more of them. But we'll never see another one like her. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. We know Janet would have been here tonight if she was still around. I'd like to invite up now London's heritage planners, Kyle Gagne, Laura Dent, and Michael Gregwall, assisted by new planners Connor Mitchener and Lorraine Tinsley.
I guess it's just me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Connor Mitchener. I joined the City of London last year as a heritage planner, shortly before last year's Heritage Awards. And I'm pleased to be here tonight to talk a little bit about heritage designation. So as we all know, designation under the Ontario Heritage Act signifies an official recognition of a property's cultural heritage value or interest. Beyond recognition, designation also formalizes an owner's commitment to the stewardship of significant cultural heritage resources to ensure their long-term protection and conservation for generations to come. From a municipal staff perspective, the designation process is always the most rewarding when an owner is actively engaged and willing to collaborate in the process of identifying, researching, and evaluating their property. Over the past year, the city has worked with property owners towards the individual designation of 2 properties under the Ontario Heritage Act. If the owners of these properties are in attendance this evening, I'll ask that you, if you are able, please stand as we recognize your property for 2023. So first off, we have 81 Wilson Avenue, built between 1854 and 1866 and known as the Alexander Leslie House. The property features a 1.5-story buff brick dwelling that supports the character of the surrounding Blackfriars-Petersville Heritage Conservation District, as it is an exceptional example of the cottages built by market gardeners in London West from the mid-1850s to the early 1900s. There's Susan. Secondly, we have 1350 Warncliffe Road South, known also as Weldwood Farm. It was operated between 1911 and 1965 as an experimental farm by the Farmers Advocate, an agricultural journal based in London. Development plans for this property include the retention of the main residence and stand as an example of how built heritage resources can be incorporated into new development. So with that, please join me in recognizing and celebrating these designations for the year 2023. Thank you.
I'm going to use up your program here just for a moment because Jason Hick was actually the person who received the the Mayor's New Year's Honors Award for Heritage. So this is our own Jason Hick. He's very, very embarrassed. Done a superb job tonight, and we thank you, Jason. And I believe you're also a helicopter pilot, is that right? No, a helicopter mechanic. Yay!
Well, that's embarrassing. That's what Susan hoped I would say, so. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Of course, we'd like again to thank Museum London's Lisa McDougall, our volunteers who put this event together, our AV guy, Chuck, who's back again, and another great job. Of course, I'd like to thank again Mike Barry of Mike Barry Architectural Photography for volunteering to take the photographs of our committee tonight and our awards recipients. And with that, let's head back up to the atrium there and celebrate together. Over the next hour, we got to be out by 10 o'clock, and the bar is going to close at 9:30. So we'll see you up there. Thank you. See you again next year.